Well, we're kind of on time. Let's take a peek here. I think I kind of screwed up. There we go. That's what I need to do. Let's see here. Let some people know what is going on. Buddy. Da-doo. La-doo-da-doo. Happy New Year, everyone. Let me just get the word out to my boys. All right. Do a shout out over on all right. Hello, Art. Good to see you, buddy. Sorry, I just ran right into the thing here. This junk here. Still purging, still cleaning, still making my life better. Hello, crafters. We are live. And is there some shit going on or what? This dude, hey, what's up, my guy? Good to see you, Skynox. So, what is going on? We are a new year, new things going on. Well, what are we doing? We're trying to purge all this plastic we got in our army, in our backlog. So, I've got most of my Votan built. Gonna start slapping some paint on it real soon. I don't really have very much, but given what these new rules are, holy shit, I think I might have enough. Oh my God, have you seen these new boarding rules? What in the hell? As I was thinking about it, I haven't officially announced it yet, buddy. Haven't officially announced it yet. We're still, until I officially make the change, and there'll be a video about that. I will officially make the change. We will be at 7:30. Right now, I think we're still doing 8:30. Although I really need to move that because, yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So, new year, new reality, new army, new everything. Oh my gosh, everything is weird. Wow. So let's just jump right into it. Like I said, we're starting the year. We're hitting up the plastic, trying to get rid of our backlog. I've built most of my. Yeah, I'm feeling you, Tina. I'm feeling you. I've been feeling it myself too. I come home, I take a nap, and then get up and do my show. Trying to get other stuff done around my life too. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I will make an official announcement when I'm ready to move to that time. God, I have so much junk. I need to clean up this desk. We're gonna purge some shit this week. Oh my God, we are purging and cleaning and purging and cleaning. I have already thrown out a bunch of stuff. I have purged a bunch of stuff. Since I'm doing a lot less of certain types of content, I'm going to not be doing as much of it. So a lot of the extra junk I was keeping around because I might need this someday in the future. Getting rid of that shit. I dumped a bunch of shit over the weekend. I have stuff that I'm putting together. I've been rethinking about this Votan army, what I want to do with them. I think I'm going to really be slow building them because I'm not going to be focusing on them much. But I want to do a high-end paint job on them. So I'm going to throw some primer on them and put them in the back of the queue because I have a bunch of things I want to do ahead of. Hey, Kirschbaum, good to see you, buddy. So what is going on? Well, let's break it down from the very beginning. One, we talked about it a bit last week. We want to start producing more regular content. And we've tried a couple different venues, tried a couple different objects, and it hasn't worked out. And I'm seeing channels that just produce garbage content, and yet they are just churning in views, and I don't get it. And I have to admit, that took a bit of a wind out of my sails. Because I'm seeing channels with bad content, like poor advice and bad edited videos and poorly spoken, unscripted, just people have no prep to realize what they were going to do ahead of time and don't talk about what they're doing ahead of time and just then try and churn out videos, and they're still getting a junk load of views, which is, to me, just like, that just strikes me as odd. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to focus on trying to put together not just quality content this year, but we're going to put together valued quality content. So going to be a big focus on potentially doing some painting tutorials. Going to focus on speed painting tutorials, since I always have people ask me, how did you get through that army that quick? How did you get those guys from plastic to painted so quick? Well, I've got some ideas, and I think I'm going to try sharing my speed painting tutorials. Since slap chop is all the rage, I'm going to show people how I do slap chop, because they call it slap chop, and to me, this is nothing new. What they call slap chop is what I call pre-shading. And it's a thing I've been doing for 5-10 years now when I first heard about it. So it's like, this is a thing. So I think we're gonna focus on quality when it comes to doing crafting tutorials, but it'll be more about getting your figures and getting them on the table. Yeah, and the funny thing is they call it slap chop, and you're absolutely right. It's like, it's offensive because it's just like, it's not. Slap chop is just and you're done. That's not what painting. That's not what this painting method is. You're basically making it sound like you're not putting any effort into it, because slap chop is just and you're done, and that's not what it is. It's about understanding that you can paint in stages. Like, let's get some shading done on there, and let's get the pre-shading done, and then use thinner paints to utilize that shading. Let's utilize that shading to set up our figure's final look. And then after we've got the colors down, then we can go back and highlight it. But in the meantime, we can still use those figures. There's also a lot of other things that other channels don't really cover that I think, like, some of the comments I get about my figures is that, like when I do, Antonio will attest to this. When I used to bring my my Death Guard around, he was like, "Those are just nasty." There's nothing special about it, but there's more to paint than just schemes. Sometimes there's textures. Sometimes there's paint effects. Sometimes it's simple effects. And you can use simple effects to your advantage. And I think that's something I want to focus on this year for the channel, is showing people some of the simple effects you can use to make your hobby time go by quicker, use it more effectively, and get your models on the freaking table. Skynox and I have already talked. He and I want to talk about some collab about tactics and things like talking about battle reports and talking about tactics and talking about, preparing yourself when you're playing competitively or when you're playing casually, but, upping your game a little bit and understanding what you kind of all need to think about. So you don't just walk in and go, I got dice. So, and I don't want to reinvent the world of Warhammer. Obviously, I can't. I'm not a world-class player. But I know in the last year, my personal level of game has moved way up in the scale. And some of that's just from constant play, and some of that's from understanding where your best efforts are gonna be. And so I think I want to do some videos on that. I want to do some collabs. I want to do some collabs with Skynox. There's a couple of the YouTubers I want to talk to and try and get some stuff going about that. And then a lot of this is going to be a lot of the content I wanted to talk about last week when I was so dead. And I do apologize. My God, I'm fully over the COVID now, other than a little bit of the rattle in my chest. So I've got my energy back. I'm feeling better. So I was going to try and do something this weekend, and I ended up just taking me time. I want to thank Commodore, even though he's not here right now. Hang on, let me see here. Steps to your first tournament experience. Yeah, exactly. Shit like that. Like, when you're building a list, there's a couple ways to go about list building. And, there is the very narrative list building method, but there's nothing wrong with it if you're looking to play in a narrative sense. And we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about that. And then there's the I want to play in a competitive scene. And these are the steps you need to look at when you first approach going competitive. So these are kind of exactly. So let me quick go over the thing and let me see. We got Art. Thank you very much for showing up. Skynox, Ben, Tina, Kirschbaum, my buddy Antonio. And Hellchild, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And that's the thing. I think after everything I've learned in a year of doing RTTs, getting into competitive play isn't everything I thought it was before I got into it. And I got the hang of it pretty quickly. Now, admittedly, I still have a ways to go, and I'm not trying to say I'm not. I got plenty of ways to go. I got a lot to learn yet. But that comes down to more about understanding not just my army, but understanding other people's army. I think that's something we can talk about. And I think that's something people that are newer to the hobby are going to be interested in. I don't want to have people consider me like a coach, because I'm not a coach. I don't want to be a coach to anybody. I just want to give people talking points to think about. And Adrian, you want to play Steel Rift? What is Steel Rift? Talk to me, Antonio. What is Steel Rift? I don't even know what Steel Rift is. Mentor. That is a much better word, Kirschbaum. I don't want to be a coach. I want to be a mentor, because those who can do, those who can't teach, and those who can't teach critique. Oh, I want a mentor so I don't get stuck in that. It's a mech game. I love mechs. I mean, BattleTech was one of my very first miniature war games I ever played before I played 40K. So I would love to get it down if it's fun. I'm ordering tomorrow. I'll take a look at it, but I'll let you know. I mean, one of the other things I'm doing this year is that A couple years back, I did a video about owning your hobby, um, owning your hobby budget. Oh, Star Wars Legion. Like I said, a couple years back, I opened up a video I had called owning your hobby budget, because I was seeing people that were overextending themselves on their budget, people that were scraping by and still buying shitloads of minis. And I fell into the trap. I spent way more money last year on minis than I realized, and I kind of did a head count of what I've got. And it's not that I'm not going to play with them, but I've got a huge backlog now, and I've got a huge mess of just junk sitting on my table from rapid building and rapid painting, and I'm constantly trying to clean up. And I've just got tons and tons of spare sprues that I don't need, and tons of extra pieces. And one of my things is that I'm trying not to spend more money this year. I'm going to spend as little money as possible on new figures. I have plenty of figures. I have plenty of full armies that need some love and attention. So I'm not going to be buying almost any minis this year. I know that's weird coming from me, but but here's the thing. There's so many other things you spend money on in the hobby that I'm going to be spending on, because I need to buy paints. I need to refresh some of my paints. I need to get rid of paints that are old and dried out and buy new paints. I need to update some painting supplies. I'm still going to be buying some figures. I'm not going to buy no figures. Obviously, that would not be realistic to say. But last year, I just kind of went, let's just buy minis, and bought lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of minis. And again, I've got lots of projects now that I've got lots of minis for that I don't have anything to do with. So we're going to be limited on what we're buying for minis. I've kind of got myself overwhelmed. I've got a massive guard army that needs to be finished. And I'm getting the last bit of the minis that I budgeted for earlier. I'm getting some of them hopefully this weekend. Skynox, we need to hook up this weekend, so I can get those from you. But the flip side is, I have 4,000 points of Mechanicus that are built and primed and not painted. That I really love that army. And oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about it, Antonio. Let me look at what we got. Like, let me look at the game, and I'll tell you what I want to do. AdMech are going to be a lot of fun, and that's why I want to get my AdMech painted, because I love AdMech. I absolutely love AdMech. I think they are a fun army. I think they are a beautiful faction. I think they're bizarre and weird, and I love some of the stuff they do. And I want to play more AdMech. With them getting their rules, I want to play guard this year. So my whole thing is that I'm trying to decide, where am I going to focus my energy at? I want to play AdMech. I want to play my knights. I love my knights. That's a fun army to play. But I want to play my guard too, because I love my guard. With Armor of Contempt changing or removing, and changes coming to Marines points, I kind of want to drag the wolves back out. So yeah, AOCs will be gone. I know, but I'm just saying there's going to be other changes made. So, I mean, I got a lot of Space Marines. I still got I got a lot of Space Wolves I still don't have painted. And then I've got a lot of Space Wolves that I've got extra units for that I've got built and need to be painted up. But they're also, I've got regular Marines. I've got a regular Marine army non-wolf. I mean, I have a 2,000 point Deathwing Dark Angels army that's not painted. It's built, it's constructed, but it's not painted. I got to get around and get painting that thing. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. So my goal this year is to get everything I currently have built and primed painted by the end of the year. And everything that is currently unbuilt built. That is my big thing. I want to get my orcs done. I've had this orc army that I've got built and primed and half painted for a year and a half. I want to get them done. I want to get my orcs up and running. I want to get my Death Skulls up and going. I want to get my Gazkul painted. You know? There's a lot of interesting things with this meta changing on. And then, now, we've got a new set of rules that are not tournament rules at all. We've got new rules coming out that are for narrative games with this Arcs of Omen called the boarding rules. Has anybody taken a deep look at those? These are going to be tiny. These are going to be freaking tiny armies. These are 500 point lists. There's no way. And some of these armies, I'm not even sure you'll be able to get to 500. Well, I mean, yeah, some of these armies are going to be tough to get to 500. I mean, maybe not. No, I think with 3, 3, and 1. So up to 1 HQ, up to 3 troops, and up to 3 elites. Okay. That's gonna be interesting. It's definitely not tournament type play, but with all the additional weird rules, they're basically giving us Space Hulk, but on the tabletop. They're basically giving us a kill team type game for more than a kill team sized army. Part of me looks really intrigued to play it. And that's a very key point there, Ben. I can't agree with you more. That is a very valid issue. We had 9 months of Psychic Awakening. And then they literally released the last Psychic Awakening, and then a couple weeks later, we got the new edition. Now, admittedly, this was in the middle of the pandemic, so all the great Psychic Awakening rules, we never got a chance to actually play. Yeah, and that's the thing there. Worthless pretty quickly, new edition came out, and Warhammer Indoor, those thing outside. I mean, that's the whole thing. The way Warhammer competitively gets played, you're basically, the only time you're out in the open is if you failed an advance roll. You're running from building to building most of the time, or you're a giant vehicle that doesn't fit in a building. I'm super intrigued about what they're going to do, what they're for, what's the whole point of this thing. But let's be real. The real point of it is that they're going to stretch us for the 7 to 8 months until 10th edition drops this summer. I can say I'm not going to be buying any of the terrain. I as much as I like the look of some of that indoor terrain, I have a set of really cool molds from back in the day for doing D&D and sci-fi games on a tabletop, and I have a complete set of plaster molds that I use dental plaster in. And I had a full set of terrain at one point, and I gave it to a friend of mine. I had a gigantic freaking box of space terrain for basically running around in ship hallways and ship corridors and ship buildings. And I gave it away to a friend of mine because it cost me, like a couple bucks to make and a couple hours to paint when I was done. But I could see me casting up and painting another set of it for 40K if somebody really wanted to play a set. I can't see investing in the terrain because it's not going to be a commonly played version of the game. I can see already it's a 500 point. It's meant to be a gap or bridge the gap between Kill Team and 40K. They've been talking about this, and now they've done it in reverse. They honestly, this version of Kill Team, this indoor corridors version of Kill Team, should have been the first Kill Team they released at the beginning of the expansion. And this breaching and corridor rules should have been something they did in the first 6 months of the game coming out in 9th edition, in my opinion. I think it's great. I think it looks cool. It looks thematic. It looks cinematic. I mean, I think you could do a 500 point versus 500 point battle report about this style of game, and it would be really, really cool. I could see you doing some really good stuff about it. And you're exactly where I'm at. Hey, who took my dice? I think I'm going to get the very first book, so I get the boarding rules, but that'll be probably about it because I just can't see buying a bunch of books that, I look at my Psychic Awakening books. I had most of the set, and most of them did nothing for me. I literally, they had some new rules, they had some new settings, but they were quickly, the pandemic was a big part of it, but then they were also just completely circumvented. The new edition came out, and these rules were like, and they were very poor in comparison to the 9th edition rules. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that's it. I'm going to get the first book, but I don't see 40K going this route. 40K is the battle of big armies on the table. Seriously, I just really think they kind of flipped the switch on this. They should have done it in the other order. I think they should have put these in the very first part of the expansion in Kill Team and these boarding rules. And I think they may have missed the boat. But again, that's also going to depend on where this lore goes and where 10th edition goes. Part of the rules seem really interesting to me, but it's like, let me take a peek here. Here's an interesting point. Adeptus Mechanicus. I'm looking at these 40K boarding rules. Adeptus Mechanicus. Mustering a boarding patrol. Mustering a boarding patrol. Following rules apply. All forge rule units in your boarding patrol must be from the same forge rule. That's pretty much the normal rules right now. I'm kind of hoping about that, Ben. I really am. You can include one and no more than one unit of Cataphren Breachers. You can include one and no more than one unit of Cataphren Destroyers. So you can have Destroyers, you can have the Breachers, but you can only have one of each. That makes sense given how big and devastating they are. But they're not great in 40K. They're okay if you're playing a specific army. Again, you have to see how the rules work for them. You can only add servitors if you have at least one tech priest. Now, if you go back to how the rules play, you can have 0 or 1 HQ units, meaning you don't have to, and that's the thing, nothing's compulsory. You don't have to have an HQ unit. So you can put an army down that doesn't have an HQ unit. Oh, I get what they're doing. And this is what dawned on me. They're literally wanting people that have been picking up spare figures out of, figure of the month here and there, and painting classes, and or, oh, hey, I got, some figures out of an extra pack of Imperium magazine. Random figures, let's put together an army with them. So you can have 0 to 1 HQs, 0 to 3 troops, and 0 to 3 elites. Let's go back into this now. Rules adaptation. If you're playing Adeptus Mechanicus, the Doctrina Imperatives ability applies only if your warlord is a Scutari Marshal. So you only get the imperatives if your warlord is a Scutari Marshal. You only get that as well in a normal army if you have a Marshal. But since you can only have 1 HQ, that makes sense. The Canticles of Omnissiah only applies if your warlord is a tech priest or has the Masters of the Forge dogma. So Mars with a Scutari Marshal gets both. That's it. Or you're playing Scutari or you're playing non-Scutari. Okay, fair. Should an enemy, when an enemy might arrange to take a unit with the Shrouded Protocols dogma, they're treated as having the benefits of cover if the attack model is more than 6 inches away. Well, since we're playing such close quarters, yeah, a lot of these ranges have got to go down. So, yeah. So, basically, you're only allowed to have 1 set of breachers. You're only allowed to have 1 unit of destroyers. And it's only elites. So, if I remember right off the top of my head, the Happy Servo Boys, the big robos, those are considered a heavy support unit, if I remember right. So you're not having them. You can't have cavalry. You don't have any fast attack. So basically you're running a Scutari army or you're running breachers. And that's it. You could run techno priests, I guess. So, I mean, there's a couple viable, but it's just like, that's just a weird, you're super limiting the game. I mean, it basically comes off like you're running a gigantic version of Kill Team or a really psychotic version of, say, Space Hulk. So, all right. Let's take a look here. Agents of the Imperium. All Ordo units in boarding patrol must be from the same Ordo. If you include an Inquisitor, you can include Inquisition agents. You can include up to 3 Inquisitor character models, but only one of them can be an Inquisitor model. Acolyte units can be taken as a troop unit size of 5, and they're considered to be troops. Acolytes. I guess these are like older models. I haven't really not played it. You can take an Assassinorum model, regardless of how many of the character units, but it cannot be your warlord. So you can take Acolytes, Navis Imperial, I guess those are the Navy guys that are in one of the kill teams ago, and Arbites troops. Do we even have 40k rules for Arbites? I imagine that's going to be in like one of the first books. Kirsch, they actually have in these rules, they actually have a big thing here on the Tau. I thought it was interesting because I was reading it earlier. Because like, how in the hell are you going to play Tau? because you can't have a fly. You're not allowed to have fly. I'm like, that eliminates their entire army practically. Except I just read their rules. They don't have an exception to have the big robots. So basically, you're taking cataphrons. You're going to take cataphrons and maybe techno priests, or electro priests, or you're going to take a Skitarii army. A Skitarii army wouldn't be bad. That's a lot of bodies that can do a lot of actions. So yeah, so here, let's check out the Tau Empire rules. Mustering a boarding patrol. When mustering a boarding patrol, if you're faction of the Tau Empire, the following rules apply. All sept units from your boarding patrol must be from the same sept. Okay. You can upgrade an ethereal to have a hover drone even though it has the fly keyword. Again, one of the key things is nobody has fly. So you can give them a hover drone, but he doesn't get fly. You can include one stealth battle suit, Farsight, or crisis unit, or the important word is or stealth battle suit, Farsight, or crisis unit, even though they have the fly and jetpack backwards. You can include one fast attack slot, but only if it is a Pathfinder team or tactical drones, even though it has the fly keyword. You cannot include support turret or drone models unless they are in a tactical drones unit. You cannot have drones with your fire warriors. You can only have a single tactical drones unit. That's it. Think about that. You cannot include the support turret or drone models. You can only add Kroot units if your boarding patrol attachment includes at least one Kroot carnivores unit. If you do so, you can include one unit of Krootox riders, even though it's cavalry, and it may contain up to 3 models. You cannot upgrade any models in your army to have prototype system upgrades. And when you're forming boarding squads, do not split Kroot units into separate units. This is important. Do not split Kroot units into separate units. If you take multiple Kroot carnivore units, they are all one big unit. Note that you can still include Kroot hounds using the Kroot carnivores Kroot pack ability. They do not take up a battlefield role slot. So if you take up Kroot carnivores, you still get the Kroot pack ability, which means you can have Kroot hounds not taking up a slot. You can have a Kroot shaper. He doesn't take up a slot. And you can have the Kroot riders. But since they're all considered Kroot, they're all one unit on the board. How in the hell does that work? Your entire Kroot mob, all of them, it's saying it right here, do not split Kroot units into separate units. Now, again, we don't know what a boarding squad is. So I'm assuming when we get the actual rules out of that book, there's going to be some weird rules about boarding units and how they can split up when they're on and all that. But it's going to be like, I think, basically when I'm boarding squads, when you're forming boarding squads, I'm betting that's like deployment phase. Like, you just put all your Kroot down at once. Interesting. Rules adaptations. If your faction's talent part of the following rules are crewed hounds cannot perform actions, including the operate hatchway action. There's an operate hatch action. If you played first edition Kill Team, you're familiar with this action. Models with the fly keyword lose it while they're on the battlefield and have a move characteristic of 6. So your crisis suits have a movement of 6. Your drones have a movement of 6. They don't actually fly; they just kind of putter around. They're like Roombas. Your freaking drones are a bunch of Roombas now. Models with the Manta Strike ability lose that ability for the battle. When an enemy model makes a range attack at a unit with the Masters of Urban Warfare or Camouflage experts, that unit is treated as having the benefits of cover if it's more than 6 inches. We're talking again about that 6-inch rule, where for the purpose of Fast Strike Tenet, your entry zones are considered your point zone. Commander Farsight has an attacks characteristic of 3. Huh. Interesting. Kirschbaum, you know off the top of your head, how many attacks does Farsight normally have? Because I'm thinking about it. If you can't have any of the prototypes, you don't get the Flame Fist. So you don't get that massive. But all of my commanders have 4 attacks in melee. 5. So Farsight has 3. I don't think you can take... Oh, interesting. You could take 1 stealth battle suit, Farsight, or crisis unit. So meaning you can't take the other 2 kinds of commanders. You can only take a crisis commander if you were going to take a commander. Or you could take Farsight. Or, because I believe her unit is considered a stealth battle suit, you could take Shadow Sun. So you can't take a Enforcer commander. Wow. And if you take any one of those commanders, you're not taking a set of crisis suits. That's interesting. They like really want you to, oh man. That's wild. That is really crazy. Wow. Yeah. Space Marines. These are interesting. I looked at them earlier. So they must be from the same chapter. You can include a Lord of War, but only if it's a Primarch. That's really interesting that they make that designation. Lord of War, but it must be a Primarch. Maybe the line is coming back and he's going to be a Lord of War Primarch. Well, it's interesting to say because they don't. Let me continue. This is interesting. You can include 1 fast attack unit, but only if it's an assault squad and is not equipped with jump packs, or a Fenrisian Wolves unit. I mean, I'm going to throw a set of Fenrisian Wolves in there because those fuckers are fast and they're awesome. But they can only have a starting strength of 5. Obviously, they can't have a Cyber Wolf, and they can't perform actions. You can include 1 heavy support unit, but only if it's Hellblaster Eradicator. So you can have Hellblasters, you can have Eradicators, one or the other. You can't have Eliminators. You can have all the dreads you want because they don't say anything about dreads. Holy shit, I'm going to be running 3 dreads all day long. Oh, Jesus. You can only add one company veterans unit to your boarding patrol if it contains one captain. This unit must have a starting strength of 5 models. Hang on. Company veterans is a 2-man squad. Can it go up to 5? You can only have servitors if your boarding patrol type includes a tech marine. Well, it means if you have company veterans with a captain, you don't have a servitor. Servitors are cheap, easy way to open doors. I get it. Okay. Rules restrictions. Combat squad rule does not apply. Instead, units split when forming boarding squads. Again, this boarding squad thing's got to be about how they get in there. When an model makes a range attack that targets a unit with Shadow Masters or Stealthy Chapter Tactics, it's more than 6. Fenrisian wolves cannot perform actions. Models with outflank, can't do somewhere out in the battle. So they eliminated Farsight to only having 3 attacks. But if I take Ragnar Blackmane, I'm going to be swinging 10 times. We're going to have a day. This is what Ragnar was built for. Coming in and picking up units. Yeah, the blueberry is going to be Lord of War. So if you're playing Fat Boy, if you're playing Rabute, you're playing him, and it's probably, like I said, 500 points. You're playing him, you're playing like a squad of Marines, and they're all playing Ultramarines. Oh, that's a good point. Dreadnoughts are vehicles. Let's look at the very first beginning of the rule here. I did look up the other rules here. So what are not allowed? Okay. So, vehicles. So no dreadnoughts. Yep. No vehicles, no monsters, no bikes, no cavalry, nothing with a jump pack or no other way to fly about. You can also take only a single character. No sense in risking your whole command corps instead of a shadowy Space Hulk. So yeah, this really is this is kill team with lots of dudes. This is 500-point kill team. Jeez. So no dreads. Oh. Man. Yep. So yeah, they made a difference between boarding patrol and other Warhammer 40k detachments is that nothing is compulsory. It's perfectly viable to take no troops or HQs whatsoever, allowing lists to lean into clear concepts like a Navy, all Navy breacher force, or take nothing but Khorne berserkers, the gentleman's choice. So they've now got 40k rules for crew Farstalkers. They're right on their page here. Navy breachers, traitor guardsmen, Euclidean Starstriders, Gellerpox infected, so that they can be used directly in 40k. I mean, yeah, that is one of the other things you can do. Adeptus Custodes. Must bring a boarding patrol. All shield hosts must be the same shield host. You may include one fast attack slot, but only if it's Witch Seekers. You can include Custodian Wardens unit if its starting strength is 3 or 6. When forming boarding squads, if a Warden's unit has a unit size of 6, split into 2 units, 3 each. You can include an Hilarious Custodian's unit if its starting strength is 1, 2, or 3. That's it. You get 1, maybe 1, 2, or 3. But when you go into boarding squads, you can split them into multiple units. So if you took 3, you can split them into 3 one-man units. You can only add a Knight Centura model if your boarding patrol detachment includes at least one other Anathema Psychana. You cannot upgrade a model of your army to have the unstoppable destroyer captain commander ability. If your faction is Adeptus Custodes, following rules. Psychic unit makes a psychic test. The total is only affected by units within the Daughters of the Abyss rule that are visible. So you have to have eyes on the Psyker for the Daughters of the Abyss rule to work. Note that Trajan Valoris' Captain General rule does not allow him to gain any enhancements. Yep, no bikes. I mean, if you take 3 Terminators, though, you're not going to have many more points. I think that takes up your whole 500, doesn't it? I mean, aren't they freaking super expensive? I mean, it's just, this is like crazy. They're 180 points a piece. So 3 of them. Oh, Terminators are 100. So that's 180 of your 500 points. Yeah, like I said. There is some really crazy rules going on here. The Asuriani and Yunari rules. All craft units in your boarding patrol must be the same craft world. You may include 1 heavy support slot, but only Dark Reapers. Storm Guardian and Guardian Defender units can include a Serpent Scale platform or heavy weapons platform as normal, even though it would mean the unit has a starting strength of 11. When forming boarding squads for such units, split into 1 unit of 5 and the other 6. Okay, so there's got to be something about splitting units up to start off with. Like, they've got to be maximum. Warlock's unit can have a starting size of between 1 and 5. You can only upgrade 1 aspect warrior unit in your army to have the Exarch power. Models with the Favorite of Cain ability cannot be given enhancements. Units cannot have the Hunter of Ancient Relics craft attribute. You cannot include any Harlequins. Wow! No Harlequins, no sir, no, get out. Oh, man. If your faction is your Suryurani, following rules are changed. Models cannot take battle focus moves. Phoenix Lord models cannot perform the secure sight action. When an enemy model makes a ranged attack at a gloom field or the fieldcraft match concealment, it's counted as if they're within 6. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, this isn't just, they're trying to make a new type of 40K that's going to be, and my God, I mean, they've got a 10-page booklet here just on all the specific rules for each of the armies and how everything changes. My God. I mean, conceptually, this sounded really cool when they first started talking about it, but just the amount of rule changes are just so complicated. Okay, you can include 1 fast attack, but it's an interceptor squad. Okay, Grey Knights. They must be the same Brotherhood. 1 interceptor squad only can have servitors, even a Brotherhood Tech Marine. You cannot have any Wisdom of the Prognosticars upgrades. Models and interceptor squads have a move characteristic of 6. Why would you even take them then? Imperial Guard upgrades on eBay already. What? Yeah, those. Honestly, I forget, when did I see those? They're not. They didn't just show up today. People are just noticing them today. They've been out there for like a week or 2 now. So I don't know where they got slipped out of. They probably fell off a truck, but they've been out there for at least a couple weeks now. You can't even play this game to get into 40K. You would be like so lost when you start transitioning over. What personal teleporter's ability of interceptor squad units change you once per battle. Models in the unit may use their teleports to make a normal move. If they do so, until that move is finished, models in this unit can move horizontally through models and terrain as if they were not there. They cannot finish move on top of another model in space or within engagement range of enemy models. You cannot attempt to manifest fatal precognition, fires of covenant, or any of the witchfire psychic powers from the sand tick more than once per battle round. Gate of Infinity has a warp charge of 11. Vortex of Doom has a warp charge of 10. Oh, God, I don't even want to look at the orcs. I can just imagine. Oh, Harlequins have their own. Okay, Harlequins aren't included in the Assyriani. They have their own thing. They have their own segment. Okay, so Harlequins can do it, but they can only play Harlequins. That is just so weird. I guess the important part to know about them, when determining the number of luck rerolls a player gains from the Luck of the Laughing God ability, a player can only gain them from a Luck of the Laughing God roll. They do not gain any based on the battle size. Twilight Pathways is a warp charge of 8. Mirror of Minds is a warp charge of 9. Webway Dance has a warp value of 6. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. They're like, you have to walk around on the board, which I guess is fine. I want to see the jump as a warp value of 11. Oh, man. All clan units in your boarding patrol must be the same clan. You can use up to 2 character units, but only one of them is a runt hurt. You can only include 1 Gretchen unit. Oh, wait a minute. That makes more sense. So it's not that all of your recruits. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay, so it sounds like when you're putting units down, if the unit size is more than 5, you split it into 2, like groups of 5 at a time. So that's when they say you put it down as 1 unit, i.e., I have a 10-man crew unit, I don't split it in 2 5s. They come down as 1 cohesive unit. Okay, that makes more sense because now looking at Gretchen here. You can only include 1 Gretchen unit when forming boarding squads. Do not split a Gretchen unit into separate units. So you have that 10-man Gretchen unit, you put it down 1 big Gretchen squad. It's 10. Okay, that makes more sense now. You can include 1 heavy support unit, but only if it's flash kits. You can include up to 2 units of Mega Knobs in your army. Only 1 upgrade. You can only upgrade 1 model to have a custom job. Throat slit as the commandos have only applies to attacking it within 1 inch of an open hatchway, or if it has used a distraction grot. Anytime a unit makes a range attack against a tactics culture, if it's more than 6, it's treated having benefit to cover. If any units of your army have the lucky blue gets culture instead of all in. Oh, okay, hang on. This is for me because that's Death Skulls. If any of your units in the army have the lucky blue gets culture, instead of using infantry units with the culture gaining the objective secured, each infantry model in such a unit counts as 1 additional model when determining control of an objective marker. I'm guessing because everybody has objective. Each time an attack is made with a tank hammer misses the target, its bearer is destroyed, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. When you deploy a Gretchen unit in the entry zone, you may deploy a runner at the same time. The jump is 11. When a model translocates using translocation beams. Okay, this is Necrons. All dynasty must be same. You can have up to 2 but only one of them is a cryptech model, excluding named characters. You can add cryptic units even though they have the fly keyword. You can only include one fast attack, but they're scarabs. Or an Amphibian Destroyers unit. You can only add one Crypto Thralls if you have at least one cryptic unit. You can only add a Cryptic Plasma Site, and only if it controls at least one Destroyer Cult model. They cannot have some stuff that I don't know what that is, so that's fine. Models lose fly. If they translocate it using translocation beams, it cannot move across models. It can move across models, but it can't move across terrain. If any of your units have the aggressively territorial dynamic code or the internal conquest dynamic, instead of all those units gaining objectives secured in the infantry model, such a unit counts as one additional model. If any units have relentlessly expansionist, rather than the units making a normal move at the start of those, you may select one of those units that is within your entry zone to one of those units to make a normal move. When you deploy a destroyer cult, excluding the Scorpec Lord entry zone, you can deploy a friendly plasma site with it as well. If the Scorpec Lord is your warlord, each time you set on the unit from your army on the battlefield, you cannot set your warlord up sharing its entry zone alongside that unit. Flayed ones gain the following ability: Lurking Horrors. Each time an attack is made against this unit, subtract one then attack's hit roll. This is like really crazy. These are like this is like its own. It's not just. How do I put this? This is like its own freaking game. This isn't regular 40K at all. This isn't even a modified version of 40K. This is like, hi, these are your armies, but we're giving all these different abilities. Man. I was kind of excited for seeing this when they first announced it, and now I'm like, I don't know about this at all. I want to try it out, but man, this Arcs of Omen stuff, it is either going to be really great or really bad. Drukari, you're going to be crazy. Man, just looking at some of these rules, I really don't know how to feel about them. I'll give them a shot, but Chaos Marines can have a single Chaos Spawn unit. You can have 2 HQ units, but only if one of them is a Dark Commune unit. You can include more cultists than traitorous infantry units, but no more than twice as many. You cannot include more than one Balefire Tome. If you include Possessed, it can only have 5 models. Accursed cultists must form boarding squads. Split the units, all the mutants are in one unit, and all the torments are in the other unit. Warp time's a 9, possession is an 8. I'm thinking 10th. Well, again, they made the big point that this is not supposed to be for match play. This is supposed to be more of a narrative and casual play. But when you're going to come up with this many books of casual play rules for something that's only going to be around for 6 to 9 months, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll give it a shot, but I do not have high hopes for it. Let me put it that way. All right. Well, we talked about this a lot tonight. A lot of things going on. A lot of things happening. And as we close up the night, I want to give a big shout out to my patrons. You guys have been great. You've supported me for the last year, and I really appreciate it. Like most of my people have been patrons for at least 6 months, but a lot of them have been a couple of years now. So I want to give a quick shout out to all my people here as we close up for our first show of the year. So we're going to start off first for our Battle Brothers at $1 a month. We're going to give to my buddy Zane, the lovely and wonderful Tina Carrasquillo, my man Minnie Warmutt, and my big bro, the lovable man, Alex. I want to thank all you. $1 a month. I mean, that's a pot of paint. That's a pot of paint a month. That's a lot. It helps. Every dollar helps. Lastly, we're going to go into our battle leader group. Yeah, Joe Bookish, my man in Cleveland. The man known as Black Rose Dragon Knight, also known as Mythos Kushranada of the Frost and Fist. Again, thank you so much. And then lastly, in that battle leader tier, my man, Ben Carrasquillo, the man who knows more about Age of Sigmar than any other living being in the world. Trust me, I wouldn't lie to you. He knows more. Lastly, I want to give a big shout out to my 2 Warlord tier people, the lovely and wonderful Pirate Phoenix Jessica, and my man who's shirking his duties and not here, keeping us safe with the Phalanx Eye in orbit. I don't know where the hell he is. He might be traveling. I think he's traveling. I think he's in Ohio this month. So we'll see. I'll have to bug him about it later. But in either case, a big shout out to my man, the Commodore, who I did spend New Year's with. I hope all of you had a wonderful New Year's. I hope you all spent time with family, spent time with friends, drank a little bit more than you meant to, partied a little harder than you meant to, and just remembered what's important. And that's, we're all in this together. We're all friends. And in the end, this dumb game, it's a game, and we're here to have fun with it. So until you see me next time, keep it epic, keep it gaming, and game on.